Welcome to Growth Sparks, the podcast for health and wellness entrepreneurs and practitioners. Here we dive into founder stories, strategies, and innovations that shape this dynamic industry. I'm your host, Riza Javellana, and today I'm very happy to be joined by Jasmine Nelson of Umber by J Lenay. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you for having me, Riza.
I'm very excited to hear your story. So let's start off with what shaped your journey to develop this range of products, Umber by J Lenay?
To start off, I've always had excessive hair, whether that was on the face or the body. I noticed it back when I was in high school around the age of 15. I probably had it earlier than that and just didn't notice it. One day I came from home from school and I just decided to look in the mirror after talking to one of my girlfriends who happened to have visible hair. And I was curious. So when I looked in the mirror, I just noticed there was a lot of hair on my neck. And that's where the story began. I went to my grandmother because at the time I was living with my grandmother about the issue. And so I went and got some razor blades, worst thing I could ever have done, and just started shaving my neck. And that resulted to having a lot of ingrown hair and a lot of dark spots from picking those ingrown hairs. Of course, I did not know what I was doing. When you have issues like this or have hair at all, the first thing you want to do is try to get rid of it as fast as you can. And we all know that the razor is that go-to thing, especially from experience of like you shaving your legs or under your arms. You're like, well, it works there. Why can't it just work on my face? Little did I know that over the years, I found out that I was shaving incorrectly. And so I went back and forth with shaving and plucking. And of course, with plucking, I didn't know what I was doing there either because it just resulted to even having more dark spots from trying to pick at the ingrown hair that came from shaving. At some point, I consulted with my grandmother again. I'm like, look, I know something called laser hair removal. I didn't really put too much research into it. Honestly, I was trying to figure out whether I could just go to the doctor and insurance would cover it. And once I went to my OBGYN to consult with them and speak with another doctor, they said that one, insurance doesn't really cover laser hair removal because it's a cosmetic issue. This wasn't considered something that was life threatening or anything like that. So they didn't think it was that
Mhm.
important. But little do they know when a young girl who has a lot of hair like that, it messes with that person mentally. For me personally, I was dealing with isolation. I didn't want to be around others. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't have a boyfriend until my 20s. I was very insecure. So I'm like, I don't know why you guys aren't putting two and two together. And I think that falls a lot along with the wellness aspect of the category of health and wellness
Mhm.
because again, it does mess with you mentally as a young girl. For the most part, you want to look your best as you're young
Yes.
in your teenage years. That's the time when you want to have fun. You can get away with wearing certain things. Your body's a certain way. And that just wasn't me. I was very isolated. I was more like a hermit. I only had two really good friends. It was a real struggle for me. But anyway, while I was at the doctor trying to figure out what my alternatives were, they expressed that I could either take birth control or a medication called spironolactone. And both of those things you're really not supposed to be using long term. Of course, I didn't plan on being sexually active. So, because obviously I was insecure. But with birth control, you're not really supposed to use that too long. If you use it long term,
Mhm.
it can mess with you actually being fertile. And then with spironolactone, I remember looking into that, and that can mess with your internal organs, contributing to failure and things like that. And honestly, you're not really supposed to use it for more than 3 months. But what I found out throughout my journey of even having this business, that there's been women who use spironolactone for years because they're so desperate to have the hair under control. They may not be able to afford laser or electrolysis. And at the time, maybe I dodged a bullet anyway, because using laser hair removal for women of color, I came across a lot of horror stories that it could burn your skin, not just targeting the hair, but targeting the melanin in your skin. So I don't know
Mhm.
what that would have looked like if I had did it back then. Eventually, I had enough money from working and saving up to do electrolysis. With that, I that was such a oh my goodness. First off, it was a painful experience. You have to have pain tolerance for electrolysis. I did over 30 hours of that, and supposedly that is to be a permanent solution. Now, and I always say this, electrolysis, I believe it does work, but you have to make sure that you go to the right technician who knows what they're doing with your hair type because I found out that the curlier your hair is, the more slant it is within the skin. So it's not necessarily straight vertical. It could be slant and not as easy to get to for the probe to reach the core of the follicle. So what I believe is that they were missing the core of the follicle each time they were zapping the hair. And really that ended up
Yeah.
stimulating more growth, which I ended up having more hair than I began with when I did electrolysis. So I spent all that money, but that is what actually motivated me to just go ahead and find a natural solution for myself. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of testing with ingredients that I came across from just doing a lot of reading, and I just mixed all those different ingredients up together. This was back in 2016 when I started that journey, but I didn't actually come out with something for other people to test until 2019, which was now my featured product, the hair reducing fade oil. It is an all natural product. I sourced all of my ingredients from all over the world. Funny enough, none of those ingredients are from China. But I wanted to make sure that I got the highest ingredients from the places that those ingredients derive from. After coming up with that product and testing it out over a course of 9 months, I had 50 plus women go ahead and use it, and I had put together a questionnaire so I could get reviews for each person's experience and alter the product as needed or create varieties variations of it as needed. So I found that there's people who have sensitive skin, there's people who have extra
Mm.
sensitive skin. So I ended up coming up with 3 different strengths. I lowered some of the ingredient percentages just so people are not having allergy to it. I found out that some women have an allergy to lavender, so they were sneezing. Some people had some kind of nausea trying the product. But I did the best I could for what I got, and now I've helped over 40, maybe now 50,000 women worldwide with this issue.
Wow, that's amazing. And just for audience, the underlying issue usually with hair growth is PCOS, right?
Yes.
And
So yeah,
yeah.
PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. I didn't
Mhm.
realize that I had that until my second OBGYN visit. I was told that I may have PCOS. And because of they noticed this much hair that I had on my face, they also threw in there that I may not be able to have children. So that was not really a professional move because I wasn't quite literally diagnosed yet. But once I actually was 100% sure that I had PCOS was with I had my first child. So forget what the other doctor said. She didn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
My first child, and I had my ultrasound. And so they showed me that I had cysts all over my ovaries. And that's when I knew that I had PCOS. Then, quite frankly, they were surprised I was even able to conceive with the amount of
Conceive.
that I had. The
Wow.
polycystic ovarian syndrome is due to the excess production of androgens that are produced in the adrenal gland. So it is testosterone. It's extra
Mm.
testosterone that triggers different things, chemicals in your body that produces excessive facial hair or hair loss. There are people who are, like I said, the infertility issue, there's weight gain, there's mood swings, there's what you call moon face when you have a lot of bloating in your face. It creates the biggest hormonal imbalance. But that's not to
Yeah.
say that you do have PCOS when you have excessive hair. It could be due to a lot of reasons. It could be from menopause, perimenopause. It could be from fibroids, thyroids. If there's Cushing syndrome, that's another one of those things.
So there is a lot of different reasons why our bodies produce excessive hair, and therefore you're helping a lot of women with what you've made here. Tell me about feedback that you've received or the impact that you have gotten from these products, maybe a story that you're very proud of.
When I first started, I did not realize one, how many women actually had this issue. It was
Mhm.
almost like trying to find a needle in the haystack when I first started. It was very taboo. When you think of women who have facial hair, one of the thoughts, at least back then, not today, because now it's a awareness all over the place, but you would think of like the bearded lady. So women were not thinking about the hair growth on the chin. I mean, if there were, it was because of regular aging. You might find your mother or your grandmother plucking their chin hairs every now and then in the mirror when you were younger. But now the awareness is so out there that we have women just like on social media broadcasting and being transparent with how much hair they actually have. They'll do tutorials of removing it with waxing or threading. But back then, when I first started this product, I found a group on Reddit and it was called Hirsutism. At that time, I did not know what PCOS was. I knew actually about hirsutism before PCOS, at least the word, just saying excessive male pattern hair growth on the face and body. And that's what popped up. But what I noticed was there wasn't a lot of people in there. I think there was maybe like 200 people at first. And then I found another group on Facebook, and that was more like 2000. So, okay, there's a little community here. And that's really how I started the process of testing out my product, because everybody in these groups, they were complaining about having this hair situation. I'm like, look, I have a solution for you if you're willing to try it. It's free. I'm not going to charge y'all, even pay for the shipping. So just try it, give me your feedback on it, and we'll go from there. So I think that was the first time I actually found a community of women that were like myself. To answer your question, one of the people that have been a highlight in my life, like I said, when you think of women who have this issue, think of the bearded lady. But for me, I didn't have that much. So when I come across women who really have it, like really, really have it, if they wanted to do Santa Claus, they could. Those were the women that I was so happy to help, because I have been able to change their life at some level. It wasn't that they had to shave all the time or wax all the time. Now it was more like, I don't have to do this as much, and now I got my confidence back. I'm able to go out in public and feel out like I'm feminine again. And those are the type of stories that I hear year round. Every year I hear something like that, because everyone has a different level of what they're dealing with, whether it's just dealing with peach fuzz or whether they're dealing with the whole nine. So the whole nine people, that's what I love the most, because I can only imagine what that actually feels like.
Yeah, because as you said, based on your own experience, it's not just about having the hair itself, but it's about the self confidence that you lose when you have it, putting yourself in isolation because suddenly you're very conscious about appearances and things like that. What you're doing is certainly creating impact beyond what is superficially visible. Certainly more meaningful life, confidence, intrinsic impact for sure. So that's amazing. Very, very inspiring. What makes Umber's approach to hair growth problems different from the traditional sense?
So, quick story, as I was growing up trying to figure out exactly what to do with my hair outside of like shaving and plucking, I noticed that there were just nothing but products for hair removal, like hair removal creams, for example, that were just for the body. There was literally nothing for the face. And on top of that, I noticed with the packaging, it was always of a Caucasian woman. So really, I felt like these products weren't meant for everybody. That's just what the selling marketing thing was. One thing about our product is not a physical hair removal product. It is a hair inhibitor. It's a natural hair inhibitor made with all natural products. So what a hair inhibitor is once you remove the hair from the root, it is to attach itself to the root, manipulating the androgens that feed into the hair follicle, and also manipulating the hair cell production that creates the hair in the first place. So it's like a retardant for the hair. So what you'll
Hmm.
experience is there'll be thinning, a delay of growth. The terminal hair will turn into vellus hair. So it's almost like the terminal hair is turning into peach fuzz. And that's what most people want if the hair is very visible. Which you'll also notice shrinkage of the follicle itself. And also, you'll just see less hair altogether. So, if you've had, for example, 300 hairs, I'm just throwing out a number, you'll start to notice that number of hairs will start to decrease into like half, into a third. It'll just be less and less over time the longer that you use the product. But I also added ingredients that will help with fading of the spots, since that's one of the things that women tend to care about also alongside the hair. And not only do I want to get rid of the hair, but I need to do something about these spots too. So when I created Umber, the reason why I came up with that name is because Umber is a shade of brown. It's a hue of brown. It is the description of the color of soil, of dirt. And because my product is all natural and it comes from dirt, that's what I wanted to keep it as.
Hmm.
Name it a color, which was good. But also alongside with that, I felt because soil and dirt comes in all kind of hues, just like people, it's for all skin tones. It works for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. I love it. That is so meaningful. Thank you for sharing that story. Certainly a very thoughtful way of naming your product and meaningful in your target market as well. So, shifting over to your business, how many years has Umber been in the market now?
We've been in business since March 2020, so a little bit over 5 years.
And would you say at this point that you're still in growth phase?
Absolutely. I mean, even though I could feel like it is a successful business,
Mhm.
there is still a lot of growing to be had. I'm not in retail stores. I don't know if I want to be in retail stores, to be honest with you, but I would love to be in like med spas and working with estheticians, things of that nature where my audience tends to go. That way they could just go straight to get the service that they need to remove the hair and then get the product for at-home treatments. So we're still in a phase of growth for sure. We have a nice presence on social media, but it would be nice to get outside of that and be like in physical locations. But it's a process. It does take, I believe, a little bit of rebranding as well. I started off of Etsy when I first put together this brand. So it still kind of give to me personally Etsy vibes instead of something that's retail ready. So we're just in the motions
Mhm.
of getting ready for that.
At this stage, your awareness, which I think is one issue that you're not as big as you can be given the uniqueness of the product. What's your main channel of driving that awareness right now? It's on social media or?
It's definitely social media. It's funny because I'm not really on TikTok so much, but I think I'm going to change that a little bit. I've always felt like TikTok was for the younger crowd, but that doesn't mean that this product doesn't work for young people. I just feel like I resonate more with the people on Facebook and Instagram. But everybody's on TikTok.
When you zoom out and think about the health and wellness space in general, are there trends that will influence how you're going to grow or expand your business?
I was actually trying to see how I could work with, I don't want to call them psychiatrists, maybe therapists. And this is going like with the mental health aspect of it, because most days I come across someone who is really in like a depressive state and they'll tell me their story of how this hair has been affecting their lives throughout the time they've had the issue. And it's crazy because when I came out with this brand, I was not expecting to be anybody's therapist, but it's fine with me because I'm able to relate with that customer and also share my story and let them know there is light at the tunnel. You just have to find your own way. So, if anything, I would at some point try to connect with more like the therapist space to see how I could help with this issue. Because I mean, your looks are everything. Your face is everything. That's the first thing people
Mhm.
see when you are presenting yourself for anything. So if I had to think of something that bridges those gaps, it would probably be something like that. And of course, I'm already doing a lot of different in person speaking events that are health and wellness related. So it goes hand in hand. It's about the building of the confidence and making that person feel stronger than they are presently.
Yeah. Offering a very concrete solution as people are sometimes getting lost in finding their way. And I can see how you're building a community around it. You've become a trusted resource in this space. And because you've experienced it yourself, you approach it with respect and empathy. And certainly people can easily relate to you and you to them. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Any advice for people who are just starting out? You are very inspiring. You had a problem for yourself. You went out and figured out a solution, and here you are. Any advice for people who want to go into business?
Number one, do not follow trends.
Yeah.
That's the number one
Sure.
thing. If there is a trend happening and you feel like, oh, I could just make some quick money, I wouldn't. Well, I mean, there's two ways to think about it. If you're starting a business that is more money motivated, go for the trends, but just know you have to be ready to hop on the next trend because they're always going to change and they're always going to fall off, and you just got to keep up with that. I don't encourage that because for me, I'm in a different space. I come from something that's more authentic, something I could relate to firsthand. When I create this business, I could confidently say it was an accident in some ways because when I made the product, it was just to help me. And then I knew other people who had the issue, and then they encouraged me to go ahead and start helping other women who had the issue that I didn't know of. So that was where the motivation came from. It wasn't of, I'm seeing something that everybody's liking right now, so let me hop on the train. So I feel like if you're going to start a business, make sure that it's something that you can actually have a story to it. If you don't have a story of why did you start this business and it's coming from the heart, I feel like in some ways it could fail. A lot of businesses fail within the first 3 years. I mean, they say 5 years, but 3 years. I think of COVID, for instance. Everybody was just kind of sitting around trying to figure out what are they going to do with their time. And then a whole bunch of businesses came out of the cuts. But now a lot of those businesses aren't around anymore.
Yes.
I think you really have to figure out, will this solve a problem? Simple as that. Or will this fill a need?
Yes.
I think that's it. And once you figure out what that is, whether you're walking around the house and you're like, man, I wish I had something like this for this, whatever it is I'm doing. There you go. There's your first initial idea. I need something that's going to help me do this. And I don't see that anywhere. If I can't find it, there is your niche that you could create. There is your opportunity and there's your story already set up for you. Now, the only thing is, I wish that more people knew how much dedication you actually need to run a business. For me, it was a lot of late hours, a lot of early mornings, a lot of sacrificing time with my family and my friends, and also my own self care. I'm better at it now because I have help. But when you start a business, there's going to be a lot of hurdles that you have to try to just figure out and go around and overcome. So I wish people knew more that it's really not, it's easy to start a business, it's hard to continue with one. Let's just say that. But you have to work hard enough and figure out how you're going to get to a place to where you can start getting help. I think once you
Yeah.
get to that point, that's when you're like, okay, I got this. I can keep going because now I have help instead of wearing all these different hats, because that's what's going to be exhausting. But if you're serious about your business, you can overcome that and it'll work out just fine.
Thank you. That's very smart advice, truly from experience and from the heart as well, from someone who has done it. Where can people learn more about Umber and how can they purchase your products?
Sure. Now, if you want to reach out to me personally, I am on the social medias. All of my social medias are at Umber J Lenay. It doesn't matter if it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I also have a YouTube. You could also put at Umber J Lenay. My website is umberjlenay.com, and I'm
Mhm.
also on Amazon.
This has truly been inspiring. You are amazing. I wish you all the very best with Umber. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Riza.